Hello out there. The peace of the Lord be with you. Welcome to Pcgtv Sports Time with Jerome. Today, I have a friendly conversation with one of my friends, someone who has been in the sports media space for some time and is reputed for being one of the guys who speaks to the issues no matter who is involved. And we have visited him in his house or his home, to be specific, to have a chat on an issue that has been on our minds throughout the whole week, Black Stars. Let's go for a short break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and the show will continue. Welcome back. Before I introduce my guest, I'll give you the scripture for the day. And today I take you to Psalm 139 verses 14, where it is written, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. The Bible says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And with me on this show today is one person who is wonderfully made. He used to be a publicist for Ampem Dakwa Ladies, one of the high-performing female football clubs in the country. But like I told you, he's one of the respected football or sports journalists in the country. Felix Romack is the man I'm talking about. Felix, welcome to Pcgtv.
Jerome. Sorry.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to visit you at home.
It's a pleasure to have the senior man here.
No, you are the senior. I'm not senior.
I'm so glad to be on your channel as well. I've seen the good job you guys, are doing. Christianity and sports.
Yeah,
very, very important.
Yeah, we are trying to marry the two. I mean, I always say that the guys who go to the stadium are the same people who go to the
church as
well. Go to church, yeah. And so you can't really separate us. Football, sports, athletics, boxing, they are all part of us. Anyway, so if you had looked at the daily graphic of Thursday, October 17, 2024, you would have seen that their banner headline carried something that is not usual of daily graphic. The very few times I have seen graphic put sports, or in this case, football, on their front pages, were days that maybe any of the Ghana's teams would have performed so well at the World Cup, or let's say an AFCON, or a Ghanaian club would have done something big enough to warrant the front pages of the Daily Graphic. In fact, one of the last times I saw Daily Graphic devoting their front page to a football story should be way back in 2008, when Asante Kotoko, in a dramatic fashion, beat Dolphins FC of Nigeria to qualify for the league stage of the Confederations Cup that year. But on Thursday, Graphic gave Black Stars prominence in their front page, saying that abysmal Black Stars need rescue after 42 years trophy drought. Why does the Black Stars need rescue? The Black Stars have not been performing well. And here, maybe in the next few editions, we're going to look at what must be done to rescue the Black Stars. Felix, what do you think will have to be done to rescue the Black Stars from whatever has hit them?
Well, Jerome, thank you very much for the opportunity once again. I think that before we go to what we need to do, we first have to identify what the problem is.
So what do you think is the problem?
I think that I would say, first of all, it is the management of the team. And then the technical aspect of the team, and then also the playing body. So when you talk about the administrative aspect of the team, Jerome, we've had the current Football Association not having a proper plan for the national team.
Okay.
We've had an administration that has been in power for 5 years. And if you look at the plans or things that have gone on with the national team, I don't think it is something that they should be proud of. And when I talk about plan, you know, we've been in this situation before. And if I should go back as early as maybe 20 years ago when we didn't qualify for the AFCON, if you go back to New Zealand in 1999, when Ghana played under 17, we had a couple of players in that under 17 team. There was Don Bote, there was Ishmael Ado, a couple of guys who later went on to play for the under 20 in Argentina when Ghana lost 1-0 to a certain Saviola-led team. We had Adokwe Papo, we had John Mensah, we have John Pentel, we had Derek Boateng, we had Michael Essien. These were guys who were with the under 20 team, and some of the under 17 team from 99 had moved on to play the under 20. But before then, if you quite remember, there was a certain Stephen Appiah, you know, Atram and Co, who had gone to Ecuador in under 17 and won the under 17, Ecuador 95. And then from that squad, some of them went to Malaysia in the under 20 team, where we lost to a certain Uruguay side led by Zabalata and his brothers. So from the under 21 that we lost, that final that we lost, in 2002, there was an AFCON in Mali, and Ghana were knocked out. You quite remember Sami Kufuor, just a controversy and all that. I'm saying this because there was a path for 17 to 20 to 23 to the national team.
Is your argument that we don't have that path now? Because, I mean, listening to you mention Essien, John Pencil, John Mensah, and the rest, these players, I mean, a bulk of them, or even all of them, suddenly, or years on, became the core group on which Black Stars was built to not necessarily win a competition, but they dominated for some time.
And Jerome, from the AFCON in 2002, 4 years' time, the same John Mensah, Essien, and Muntari and Co qualified Ghana to the 2006 World Cup in Germany.
Our first time.
Yes. At that time, we had, within a period of 8-7 years, some of them were fading out, were beginning to not perform well. And then we had an under 20 team that went to Rwanda, won the AFCON in Rwanda, then went to the World Cup in 2009, under 20, and won the World Cup. There was Ajiman Bedu, Andre Ayew, Jonathan Mensah, what's the name? Dominic Adia. That was 2009. And in 2010, we had to go for the AFCON in Angola. What happened? We took a chunk of the under 20 team that had won the World Cup to Angola. I quite remember our first game, Michael Essien got injured. We lost 3-1 to Ivory Coast. But we managed to go to the final with a blend of experience and youth. And we lost 1-0 to a very good Egyptian team. What happened?
Egypt at that time had been dominating. I mean, they had won the Ghana tournament in 2008. And 2010, they were primed to...
Not just that, but for the Egyptians, they were also dominating club football in the CAF Inter-Club competition.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, the same under-20 team and part of the senior-based players went to the World Cup in 2010, and we all knew what happened. So it comes down to the administrators, the handlers of our football. Currently, these football administrators don't have a plan when it comes to youth football. And that has been the basis of our success. So when you don't have a proper structure, for youth football, it would always be difficult for you to excel at the top. And that is why I started by making such an examples. And that is the problem.
Yeah, you mentioned management, technical team, and the playing body.
Yes.
We are going to go for a short break. When we come back, Felix will break down the issues, maybe take us through what he sees wrong with the technical team before we look at the players. Welcome back. So before the break, Felix was sharing his views and telling us what he thinks has been the problem with the Black Stars relative to how the team has been managed. And I share some of those views, even though on this platform, I'm not permitted to share those views. But let's, so aside management, and I share your sentiments, there doesn't seem to be a clear-cut plan for development from the U17 to the 20 and even to the 23. The 23 team and the 23 team has been struggling to make it to the Olympics for the last 20 years. And the Olympics is 4 years. So what it means is that 5 Olympics, we have not been able to participate. That is, I mean, a big story enough. But let's put the management issues aside. What has been the problem with the technical aspect?
Well, Jerome, when you talk about the technical aspect, with the current technical team, inexperience is the main problem. Because you ask yourself, how experienced is somebody like Otuado? Not even for the African game or handling national team. How many games can you say Otuado has been on the bench to coach?
Yeah.
So the inexperience is there. If you look at his technical team, John Pentel is an assistant. How experienced is John Pentel as an assistant coach? If you look at the goalkeepers trainer, Fatal Dana, how experienced is he?
Yeah.
And you see, the technical team have been a problem for a very long time. And it also goes back to the administration, because we've appointed 5 coaches.
In 5 years?
In 5 years. And that tells you that technically we are not getting the best. And even for the one who was the best, which was Kwesi Appiah, we said he wasn't good.
Yeah.
You look at Otuado, when we had a very bad AFCON, the FA came out with a criteria as to who become the next Black Stars coach.
Yeah, which was, I mean, something good, at least giving us
a standard.
A premise upon which to select the new coach.
Jerome, can you say that per what was listed, Otuado fit into that?
Well, I don't think so.
A 15-year proven track record, a serial winner, a talent developer and all that. He did not fall within that category. But you see, a lot of people have also called for Ghanaians to be given opportunity. And sometimes people need to be given opportunity. So aside the inexperience, I expected a lot from Otuado, because in his first coming, we spoke about how inexperienced he was. And he's coming in for the second time. He should have done better with a lot of the decisions, because I was thinking, you've been there for the first time, you saw the problems and the challenges that were there. Some players he needed to have faded. He was doing that. There are a lot of people around the team trying to cut all that. But I look at the current situation and it makes me feel that he still hasn't learned from his first coming.
Don't you think we have to? I mean, his first coming lasted, if at all he was the one in charge for that period, it was 6 months. Now he's barely spent a year or even less. Are you not one of those who think that in spite of the difficulties he's experiencing, we have to allow him a lot more time to see whether he can fix whatever is broken?
Jerome, I'm not calling for a sack, but he also needs to quickly adapt and learn. In his first coming, he's managed the same number of games now in his first coming. And his first coming, he won 2 games. His second coming, he's won 2 games. So per the number of games is the same. Number of wins, nothing has changed. And as human as we are, we always want to see progress, especially when we've been given a second opportunity to improve. And that is what we are not seeing from Otuado. So if it means that beefing up the technical team for him, if it means that we need a lot of technology to enhance, if it means that he needs to do proper scouting, as to the performance of Ghanaian players or technically what needs to improve, it is upon him to do that.
How do you beef up the technical team without sacking the head coach? Because if Otto is the problem and he has to be changed, Because I look at Sudan, for example, and I'm using Sudan not because I think they're any better than us. They are not, except that they have beaten us. I mean, you can't run away from that.
4 points from
Yes.
6.
But I look at Sudan, perhaps apart from Kwesi Appiah, Ignatius, who is one of the assistants there, doesn't have, I mean, that experience that you would say, you call for, assuming he was on the Black Stars.
But I can also say that Ignatius has more experience than the 2 assistants that are with Otuado on the Black Stars bench.
I don't think I would disagree because he's coached clubs in Ghana, about 3 of them.
Gideama, he's Techiman, 11 Wonders, he's coached Dreams FC, he's coached in the 1st division, the 2nd division. He's been an assistant to some of the best coaches we've had. So he has the experience. But Jerome, sometimes you can beef up your technical team without sacking your head coach. A lot of teams and national teams are beefing up their technical team with set pieces coaches, defensive-minded coaches, with offensive-minded coaches. So you have your head coach, but there are other sub-coaches that are helping.
So in our case, then maybe the first sub-coach we'll have to go for will be an offensive-minded coach because, I mean, offensively, the way we play, a lot of things, you see a lot of deficits in the way we play when we attack. Because how many games has Otuado played? And if you've won only 2, it doesn't speak well of a coach that is.
Yeah. Between the 2 games that we played against Sudan, we had 30 set pieces. That is offensive. Yeah. If you had a set piece coach, we could have managed or even get some shot on target. And even with the same set pieces, you look at the game that we played against Niger in Bakan, look at the goal we conceded. And you see, club coaching is a bit different from national team coaches. So maybe if you go to Monaco where Salisu plays, he has a defensive partner who is good when it comes to set pieces. But in the national team, probably might not. And then I want to come to the playing body.
Yeah, but before you go to the playing body, I want us to sum up some of the points you have raised so that, those watching us can make meaning of the conversation. So first of all, you spoke about the management side, which you think that there isn't a clear-cut plan for development to the senior national team. So that's a problem. And then with the technical team,
especially the plan has to be youth football. Under 17, under 20, and all that. The FA says they have a DNA. Are we playing according to the DNA?
But you and I don't know the DNA. They are the only people who know what is in the DNA. If we knew what is in the DNA, we could perhaps tell viewers or those watching us or the public that, look, this is what is in the DNA. Given what we are seeing on the field of play, let's give ourselves time. Maybe it will grow, but we don't know the Ghana football DNA. So management, there must be a clear-cut plan with youth football in mind. And then with the technical team, you think that we should beef up the technical team, not necessarily dismissing Otuado. And I think I share that view too. I don't think it will be right to get rid of Otuado because whoever is going to come is also going to start afresh. And that may not be in our interest. So beefing up the technical team and then the playing body. What is the problem with the playing body?
I think with the playing body, one has to be commitment, and then the second had to be cultural integration.
Let's take the second one first. I am interested in cultural integration.
Yeah. You see, I speak about cultural integration because we've had players that are currently playing for the Black Stars that were not born in Ghana. So there's a cultural deficiency. We have players that are Ghanaians, born in Ghana, but left Ghana very early. And they did not have the luxury of playing for the youth team. So if you take a player like, let's say, Stephen Appiah, he's played under 17. He knows what it takes to lose at under 17 level and win at under 17 level.
You've even gone too far. He played for Hearts of Oak.
Yes.
He knows the Ghanaian terrain, traveling with Hearts of Oak around the country. Yes. Yeah.
And in the national team, he played at every level. I'm not saying every player will play that level. But when you are playing, you've played under 17, under 20, you know what it takes to wear the national team jersey and what is expected of you. I won't sit anywhere and say we have bad players. None. We call. I think that for a very long time, this is a time where we have profile of players that are doing quite well. Mohamed Kudus, Inaki Williams, Antoine. We see them week in, week out for their clubs.
You know what? I'll let you pause here. We will go for a short break. When we come back, Felix is going to delve deep into the quality of players we have and maybe make us or help us understand why, even with this quality, we still cannot beat the likes of Sudan, who don't have any player playing in the EPL, for example. We'll be back. Welcome back. Before the break, my guest Felix Romark was talking about the quality of players in the Black Stars setup. Not many people will agree that the quality is poor or the quality is bad. Yet, this quality, when they come together, are still not able to give us the kind of results we want to see. So much so that in 2 AFCON tournaments, even with our quality, we've not been able to win a game. And in the current AFCON qualifiers, which we have 2 more matches to play, there's a high chance that Ghana will not make it to Morocco. Felix, what do you think has been the problem such that even with the quality we have, I mean, it may not be as good as we used to have, but in recent years, this is about the best assembly of players we have. What must change, or what is it that you see as a problem? Which
I think that we need to find consistency. And I look at Otuado, one of the consistency thing I've seen with the team is his collapse. I think in recent times, you don't hear the media bashing with collapse and all that. But there's consistency when it comes to collapse. But your team selection, there should be consistency. I won't say we haven't been lucky with injuries, especially at centre back. So you see, one point, Juku gets to pair with Salisu. Another point, Amate comes in. There is Nicolas Opoku. We haven't had that consistency. But we need to find a way where we will have consistency with our starting 11. If I ask you, 5 years ago, you close your eyes and say, Olele will be imposed. John Pento, Adokwe Papo, Vosa, in midfield, Sule Muntari, Michael Essien, in attack, maybe Asamoah and Razak Bimpong. It was so easy for Ghanaians to predict our starting 11. And that was because there was consistency. And if for nothing at all, we had a spine. So let's try as much as possible to have a spine. And then when I talk about a spine, a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, and then in attack. So at least there will be 7 or 8 consistent players who get to start your games.
So then what is the difficulty if you and I can see that the team needs a spine from goalkeeping to attack, something firm enough to build something around it? What is the difficulty with Otuado not seeing what we are seeing?
You see, Jerome, I think that there are some moments where when coaches overthink or want to do a lot in games, you won't get that consistency. For instance, Kwesi Appiah knows he's coming up against a Ghanaian team. And truth be told, if you take 8 out of 10 matches that a Sudanese national team will play, they will be very defensive-minded. Yes. Because they might not have that offensive luxury. You understand? But you look at games involving Ghana, and even when we are playing at home, we are playing with a double pivot. And for those who are watching who might not know a double pivot.
Like the last game against, the last but one game against Sudan.
Suleiman,
in Accra. Yeah.
2 defensive-minded midfielders. Whilst we could have played one and then play an offensive-minded player like Majid Ashimero. So if you watch the game at Accra, you realize that Kudus had to drop deep and pick the ball. And
it limits your attacking play.
Thank you.
Because you have 2 players doing virtually the same thing, not giving enough to those up front to be able to score.
So, Jerome, we need to find a spine. Let's know that, okay, at least 7 players are constant starters for the national team. And that is how we've built our teams previously. Okay. And you understand? And I think that there are some players in the team that needs to pick up leadership role and show some commitment. I don't want to mention names, but I think that one thing that this team is lacking is leadership. And I'll make reference. You see, back then, Olele in post is even a leader. John Mensah has a captain in defense, he's a leader. Stevie Ampia might not have the captain's band, but in midfield, he's a leader. Even Asamoah Gyan, at his very youthful age, was a leader from Jama to even the pitch.
Don't you think this is because these were players who had built a certain reputation, and in reputation I'm talking about they had some quality, something around them that clearly gave off what you are looking for. The current squad we have, maybe apart from Jordan, maybe a Kudus, the rest really
Jerome, that brings us back to the cultural integration. When you have players that are born outside and have naturalized to play for Ghana, you will have that. When you have players that were born in Ghana but left early, you have that cultural integration. See, people say, oh, we should use local-based players and all that. There are countries that are using players that are born outside their jurisdiction, and they are doing well. Morocco, for instance, have a lot of the players born in Spain and Portugal and France, but they are doing well because they have a well-structured cultural integration for those players. Sometimes football is not just about 11 players on the pitch. You understand? Let people who have been there before explain to the players that, you know what, Ghanaians would demand.
So who would take care of this integration? Is it going to be a team psychologist or who? I mean, somebody within the management setup should be able to stand up and say, these are the identified issues with integration. How do we deal with it?
If you ask me, I don't even know if the team has a psychologist. That is the thing. I don't know if the team has a psychologist, because a lot of the time when I watch the Black Stars, I see also a psychological problem. Because even in Accra, a lot of them were afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean,
they were afraid.
Our game against Sudan in Libya, the defensive lapse that led to, was it the second goal? I was shocked.
Jerome, 3 of the defenders were on a booking. You understand?
But it's football. You have to commit.
Yes, you have to even commit. And 10 against...
Leave the decision to the...
Thank you. So a lot of the problem is psychological. Inaki Williams will go to Atletico Bilbao. Give him 10 chances. If he misses 7, he's still on the pitch. He's okay, he's fine. Antoine Semenyo at Bournemouth, he knows that I have the freedom to express myself. And sometimes when you have that freedom, the stress is not on you. And that is it. When you come, and you see, and that is what Ghanaians demand. Because aside everything, Jerome, we are on a Christian channel. You can have somebody, worshiping another religion. But if there is one religion that every Ghanaian worship, it's our Black Stars and our football.
There's no question about that, because at the Accra Sports Stadium, I mean, the stadium was nearly filled to capacity. You could have Ghanaians, even foreigners were there. I mean, they were the Sudanese, they were there, and they are not Christians. But Felix, so, I mean, we are just bringing this conversation to an end. How do we get out of this mess? Who is going to be the rescuer? I mean, Graphic was talking about Ghana needing a rescuer to take us to the promised land after 42 years. This is more than how long the Israelites spent in the wilderness.
I think that first it has to come from the administrators, because they manage the game. And there should also be a political will. I say that because...
So that one goes to the government side?
Yes. That one goes to government.
What should the sports minister, for example, do?
Jerome, we nearly played an AFCON qualifier away from Ghana in the first time.
Yeah, because of the pitches.
Yes, and that's, you can't blame the FA. The politician has to take responsibility for that. But you see, in other countries where they are doing well, Morocco is doing well because there's a political will. The king of Morocco wants to see the team improve. And I can give you an example.
Hasn't the government given everything to the Black Stars, even to the detriment of other national teams?
Do you know that there are fathers who have given everything to their children, but they are still irresponsible fathers? Oh, I've given you textbooks, I've given you, but your father doesn't check your homework, he doesn't. So there could be governments that have offered everything to the administrators and to the ministry, but they are not doing proper monitoring.
They're not paying attention to how you are faring.
And the political is very important. You look at somebody like the late John Evans Atta Mills. He managed Hearts of Oak in one time, was a lover of hockey. He had interest in in hockey. He built the hockey pitch. He had interest in football. He did that. His Excellency John Agyeku Kufuor was a former Kotoko administrator. The president took it upon himself that Ghana must go to the World Cup. So in 2006, he said corporate bodies.
Everything was put in for us to go.
Rollins loved sports so much that he said, I will take Azuma Nelson as a personal, a project.
I mean, it was in the Rollins' era that we won all our youth.
You understand? If you could even go back to when I wasn't born, Nkrumah had so much love for football that he wasn't just sending administrators to go and study outside. From the Rare Republicans, Ghana won the World Cup, Ghana won the African Cup, and all that. There was so much interest. So there has to be a political will to make sure that we succeed. If not, we'll still be where we are. And that's why I'm saying that we not qualifying for AFCON could be a blessing.
So we can use the period to...
Yes, and so we can also go back to the World Cup qualifiers and realize that if we don't do our things well, AFCON Kranayanko one World Cup betting boy.
Well, a lot of Ghanaians, some, I must say, wish that we don't go to the AFCON. Now it's no longer a wish, it's actually a reality. Unless something dramatic will happen to Sudan, where they will lose 2 of their matches. And granted that Ghana will also, or can even win in Angola and also beat Niger at home. If these probabilities are not coming to pass, Ghana will have to wait for AFCON 2027 somewhere in East Africa. Unfortunately, this is where we'll end the conversation, but hopefully next week we'll come your way with another interesting conversation. We thank Felix Romack for inviting us, or welcoming us rather, to his home to have this conversation with Black Stars. On Pcgtv, we say, in thy light, there is light. See you again next week.